In announcing new regulations to deal with asylum seekers, the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood has dragged the so-called Labour government to new depths. What Mahmood announced on Monday could just as easily have been written in Conservative Central Office or in the headquarters of Reform UK. These measures, introduced in panic because of the collapse in support for the government, will do nothing to shore up Starmer's position, but they will increase support for reform. It is genuinely astonishing, and it shows their shallowness and complete lack of any political understanding that right-wing Labour MPs really believe that draconian new asylum policies will turn around Labour's polling. Why would a voter drifting to reform reverse course when the Labour leadership has already accepted Nigel Farage's agenda and shifted political debate onto reform's territory? Why vote for a phony reform party when you can vote for the real one? Mahmood complained in the Commons about the global increase in refugees, but managed to get through the entire statement without a single word about the appalling economic and political conditions that force people to move. The severe economic dislocations, wars, repressions, and the constant threat of all three, the conditions that strip millions of any hope of a future, are completely absent from Mahmood's radar. In many of these cases, previous British governments have had a direct role in destabilising lives across Africa and the Middle East. But these issues are a closed book to right-wing Labour MPs whose economic outlook, lifestyle and politics are indistinguishable from the MPs facing them across the chamber. Comfortably off MPs, including many in Labour, some of whom regularly game the system to enrich themselves and their families, have the audacity to claim that it is the supposed benefits of the UK system that pull refugees to these shores. Community Secretary Steve Reed went onto the BBC to claim that perverse incentives are encouraging families to cross the channel in small boats. What is actually perverse is the refusal of these ministers to acknowledge the sheer desperation that forces people to risk their children's lives in the crossings. It is the standard tactic of the Tories, Reform and the far right. Heap blame on the victims. Labour peer Alf Dubs, himself a child refugee from the Nazis in 1939, described Mahmood's proposals as shabby. Tommy Robinson unsurprisingly loved them. "Well done, patriots," he posted on social media. Steve Fadell Simmons, Amnesty International's UK refugee and migrant rights director, said the plans are cruel, divisive and fundamentally out of step with basic decency. He warned that forcing refugees into endless short-term applications, denying visas to partners and children, and stripping away support that prevents destitution will deepen chaos, increase costs and hand more power to smugglers. The net effect of these plans is to rip apart any sense of security in refugees' lives, even after they've been granted leave to remain. Indefinite leave, already an unreasonably long 5 years, will now take 20. A refugee could settle, raise a family, work and pay taxes for nearly 2 decades, and at 19 and a half years be told that the former country is now safe and be deported along with their British-raised children. Entire families could be forced to a country the children have never known. Mahmood is creating 2 levels of asylum. The basic core protection offers minimal rights and bans family reunification, presented openly as an incentive not to come. The slightly better work and study protection route allows people to earn settlement only if they get a job or start approved study and pay fees. The government even says it will deny support to those who have deliberately made themselves destitute. Only a minister on £165,000 a year, plus expenses and enormous office donations, could imagine that anyone becomes destitute on purpose. What this will actually mean is a charter for exploitation. Employers and landlords will have the power to say, take this wage or there's no job, pay this rent or you're out. Then comes the threat to confiscate assets convertible into cash to pay for the system, an extraordinary throwback to some of the darkest chapters of 20th century Europe. Dark jokes circulate about jewellery, gold teeth and hair, but the serious point is obvious. If this is what a Labour government is prepared to do, it opens the door for far worse under Farage. Mahmood boasted in Parliament that the government has increased deportations of failed asylum seekers to 50,000 in the last year and celebrated record levels of immigration enforcement arrests. She insists these measures won't affect EU citizens with settled status, but by opening the door to expanded persecution of migrants, she has cleared a path for a Farage government to walk straight through it. With a third of NHS doctors and nurses being non-UK citizens, and even more in the care sector, the implications are stark. All of these workers will be potential targets. Alf Dubs warned that these proposals will increase social tensions, not reduce them. More people staying only temporarily will create suspicion and resentment. Local people will be told that temporary residents shouldn't integrate or use local schools. The result will be a heightened fear and insecurity for all people of colour and migrant workers. And the political effects will be immediate. Support for reform will rise, not fall. When a Labour Home Secretary uses the same tone and language as the far right, it does not weaken the far right, it validates it. And that will show up in the polls soon enough. Mahmood's policies will also deepen turmoil inside Labour. Many members will find them utterly abhorrent and will leave. Even MPs usually seen as right-wing, like Stella Creasy, are up in arms. Clive Lewis has even offered to give up his seat for Andy Burnham to challenge Starmer. The leaders of the big affiliated unions, Unison, GMB and Usdaw, bear enormous responsibility for this crisis. They have backed Starmer from the start, and if they will not now throw their weight against this government's trajectory, they cannot claim legitimacy as leaders. Inside those unions, as well as inside the party, the left will have to confront those who have misused and abused the Labour name. John Crace in The Guardian wrote a darkly humorous sketch titled "No Blacks, No Dogs, No Irish," imagining Mahmood deporting herself on the grounds that the country her parents came from is now perfectly safe. It was written as satire, but it also serves as a warning. This is exactly the sort of policy the far-right dreams of, and history will record that it was Shabana Mahmood who set the ball rolling. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and head over to www.lefthorizons.com, where you can read the full article and sign up for our newsletter. You can also listen to this or any of our other videos on Spotify or the podcast platform of your choice by following the links in the description below. We'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.